Hey guys, Corbin here, and I'm making custom cabinets for my house, and you can follow along and figure out how to make your own custom cabinets. In the last episode I made the face frames, and now in this episode we're going to make the sides. So let's get right into it. Here's an overview of the cabinet that I'm going to be making. If you want, download the SketchUp file and dissect it to get a bit more familiar with it. The side pieces from my cabinet design are made from 3/4 inch thick solid alder wood with 1/2 inch alder plywood inset in the middle. The solid pieces are cut just like the face frame. I first cross-cut them oversize and then rip them to final width. Note that the top left piece has a 45 down the edge. I first make the bottom pieces, which have an accent detail that needs to be cut out. I'm going to do a blind cut in the table saw to remove most of the waste. I move the blade up to the full height for the cut. I then look at where the blade starts the cut and make a 90-degree pencil line outward from it on the table so it will exceed past the width of the piece I'm cutting. I repeat this for the ending area. I can then match up these lines with my cut and know exactly where it starts and stops. To do the cut, I drop the blade all the way down. I line up the starting marks, turn on the saw, and slowly raise up the blade until it just breaks through the wood. I push through the cut until my ending mark. I turn off the saw and wait until it stops spinning completely before removing the piece. I then go over to the bandsaw and cut out the excessive waste. I could also do this with a jigsaw or a handsaw or a coping saw if you don't have a bandsaw. My bandsaw leaves burn marks, and I also cut just outside the line to leave an area to clean up after. I toss the piece in a clamp and I clean it up with sandpaper. I just make these easy little sanding blocks of various grits, and I start with 80, which removes it pretty quickly. Then I jump to 100 and 150 and 220. And this is pretty quick work to clean it up to the line and remove any burns. I also sand the bottom at this time. Once I have all the rails and stiles, I need to cut the plywood. I don't draw it in the model, but the plywood will sit in a 1/4 inch deep groove, which means all my plywood pieces need to be about 1/2 inch oversized to fit in the groove. Plywood is expensive, so I use a SketchUp plugin called Cutlass to generate the layout. I sometimes deviate from the recommended cut layout and just use it as a general guide to optimize my cuts. I do my initial cuts with a Makita track saw. This is a new purchase for me, and before that I would just use a regular circular saw and simple plywood jig. Once the plywood is cut to a manageable size, I take it to the table saw and cut to final dimensions using a special plywood blade to avoid tear out. With all the pieces cut, I can lay them out and locate where the plywood grooves need to be. The horizontal pieces, also called the rails, can have a groove all the way. The vertical pieces, called the stiles, need a stopped groove that extends 1/4 inch past the inside to accommodate the plywood. I generally make it a bit more than 1/4 inch to allow for some tolerances during glue up. So I go ahead and mark it on my boards where it needs to be. I put an 8-inch dado stack on my saw and set its width to be slightly smaller or thinner than the plywood's width. I do one pass on one side, flip it, and do a pass on the other side. I tweak the fence position so the two passes will perfectly fit the plywood in the center. This ensures that the plywood is dead center, which is how I designed the look. Note that only the horizontal rails can be pushed all the way through. These stiles need a stopped cut. For this cut, I do the same technique I discussed earlier with the pencil marks on the saw. I keep my fingers well behind everything and slowly lower the wood onto the dado stack. I stop the saw with my hip hitting the button and waiting until the saw is completely stopped before removing the piece. This technique is dangerous. The wood could catch and unexpectedly kick back. Cutting small pieces would also require your fingers to get really close to the blade. To solve this, I made a simple jig. The jig I'm now using is just 2 pieces of plywood screwed together with 2 toggle clamps screwed on top and a backstop piece behind it because the saw tends to want to push pieces backwards. It's pretty easy to use. I just clamp my piece in, mark where I want the start and the end of the cut to be, and the front of the jig has an angle, and this allows me to hold it on the front, keep my fingers well far away from everything, and hold it on the back, apply backwards pressure and downwards pressure, and safely do the cut. It's pretty easy. The table saw leaves round corners that have to be cleaned up by hand. I just toss the piece in a clamp and chisel out the waste. I usually like the piece facing the other direction because I'm right-handed and I can angle the chisel a little bit easier, but here I'm doing it backwards just to demo it. After I have the grooves all chiseled out, I'll start doing a test fit, and I generally sand the sides a little bit so it will fit a little bit easier into the grooves. I use a rubber mallet to help pound them in if it's a little tight, and sometimes I cover the rubber mallet with blue tape to keep it from leaving black marks on my wood. I disassemble the piece and start to lay out my biscuit joints. I use the smallest biscuit size, FF, which requires a special bit on the Porter Cable biscuit joiner. I just mark where it needs to be roughly in the center of each piece and transfer the mark to each adjacent side so that way they line up perfectly. I do double biscuits on each corner and that way it's a bit stronger, so I just mess around with the tool to get it adjusted right. My Porter Cable has a piece of plastic you can pop on which kind of helps align things just about where it needs to be. And I set it to the FF depth and start cutting them. I find it a little easier to clamp on a back piece the same height as my work pieces to help support it and create straighter cuts. When I do the 45s, I use a 45-degree scrap piece to put under as a support. As with the face frame assembly, I go ahead and sand the interior portions before gluing up. I just use 150 to remove the saw marks and then a final pass with 220. I don't use an orbital sander because they tend to round the sides over and I don't like that. And instead, just a hand sanding block seems to give me better control. Before gluing up, I usually first test the biscuits and make sure that they are aligned properly. If they don't line up perfectly, I just recut them, which makes them a little loose, but I think that's okay because they tend to swell up when you glue them. And I like to use a lot of glue. I start my glue ups by first putting a line of glue in the grooves. You should never glue in solid wood panels, but I use plywood, which is dimensionally stable. I built bathroom cabinets about 6 years ago with the same technique, and I haven't had any wood movement issues, even with the high humidity that you find in a bathroom. I tend to use a lot of glue, and I will put glue in the biscuit joint holes and then stick the biscuit in and kind of squeeze it around it. Then I start assembly with the more difficult side, and so I'm starting assembly on the side that has my 45 on it, which is a little hard to pound in. And from that side I kind of just work my way to the other side, adding each piece one at a time until it's all done, and then I can clamp it up. Once I have it loosely set in the clamps, I pull out my framing square and start to line everything up. If it isn't quite straight, I can sort of rack it with the clamps on one side or the other a little bit more and get it to line up a little bit better. Another technique I do is I will pound down one of the plywood edges into my groove pretty tightly, and that way that straight plywood edge will kind of help me align all the other edges straight up with it and help me get a really straight glue up. And here's what it looks like with all the clamps on it. I usually use just 4 clamps. So that's pretty much it for making these side panels. In the next episode, I'm going to make the bottom piece and the bottom support, and then I can finally start assembling everything together and get a cabinet. Thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe and follow along to encourage me to make more videos. Bye!